In the aftermath of the 2020 Karabakh war, the Armenian government has announced that martial law restrictions will be eased. The chief of staff of the Armenian PM, Eduard Աղաջանյան, stipulated that entry and exit into and out of Armenia by citizens will be allowed once again. On top of this, the ban on rallies and protests will be lifted, as will the ban on certain publications or programs. In other news, Human Rights Watch announced that Azerbaijani forces have inhumanely treated numerous ethnic Armenian military troops captured in the Karabakh conflict. According to the HRW, in most of the videos the captors' faces are visible, suggesting that they did not fear being held accountable. There can be no justification for the violent and humiliating treatment of prisoners of war. Humanitarian law is absolutely clear on the obligation to protect POWs. Azerbaijan's authorities should ensure that this treatment ends immediately. This was said by Hugh Williamson, the Europe and Central Asia Director at Human Rights Watch. Human Rights Watch says it has closely examined 14 of the dozens of videos posted on social media showing abuse of Armenian POWs. It has also spoken to the families of those held captive. The Human Rights Ombudsman of Artsakh, Artak Beglaryan, stated that around 60 captives are currently being held in Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan too has finally released its casualty count. According to the Azerbaijani Defense Ministry, 2,783 servicemen of the Azerbaijani armed forces were killed during the 2020 war, slightly more than Armenia's casualty count. And according to the Syrian Observatory of Human Rights, 900 Syrian jihadist mercenaries have returned to Syria from Nagorno-Karabakh. In Yerevan, during an opposition-organized rally on December 2nd, Armenian Revolutionary Federation representative Artsvik Minasyan said that there will be a decisive announcement during tomorrow's march. Minasyan further mentioned that tomorrow the opposition will announce the names of a potential candidate or candidates who could lead the country during this time of post-war crisis. In our studio, political consultant Eric Hakopian gave his take on the ways Armenia can get out of the current political crisis. Hakopian also spoke about the new status quo, the possibility of a final peace settlement, and the opening of borders and transport corridors. After the fall of Hadrut, Haik Khanumyan and a group of about 60 soldiers defended the villages of Khatabert and Hin Tagher. Today, these villages, as well as the Mount, Dizabait and Kataro Monastery are all under Armenian control. ＳIViLNeT's team spent 2 days with this detachment to hear their stories of the war and hopes for the future. And finally, ＳIViLNeT's team visited the town of Askeran. Azerbaijani forces are now located only a few hundred meters from the town after the Aghdam region was handed over to Azerbaijan. Our team spoke to residents to see how they are coping with this new status quo, bearing in mind that Azerbaijani forces are only a stone's throw away.